Mexican and U.S. officials collaborating at the border in a more seamless and efficient crossing process. Having USMCA enacted and ratified to help address, from our perspective, the importance of all of this digital e-commerce, digital information, and the ability for these records and their security to be better recognized and have better treatment in the agreement is of critical importance. The future is only going to continue to go that direction, and our business is increasingly one that is moving more digitally by the day.
Senator White.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Barnett, I think your story is incredibly inspiring, how you as a single mom have been able to come up with this attractive, exciting new business where, in effect, you're able to look to global markets as a result of digital innovation. And I just have a quick question for you. U.S. de minimis rates are in American law because John Thune, Republican senator sitting over there, and I wrote it. And this committee is not going to go along with uncertainty in U.S. law and NAFTA. Why don't you tell us what the value of across-the-board certainty would mean for you and your business?
Thanks, Senator Wyden, for that question. So I export my goods as well as import supplies, and I would like to not have to worry about my items crossing the border. I want my items to get to my customers as fast as possible because they expect that. And some of my items are lower priced and some of them are quite higher priced. And it would be valuable to me to have my customers not have to pay so much extra taxes. And in terms of the U.S. de minimis, since I do import a lot of my stones, I would like to not have to worry about having to pay extra taxes because it does cut into my bottom line. And since I'm a sole proprietor, every dollar counts. And certainty is important because I just make jewelry. I don't want to have to worry about uncertain provisions and laws.
Good. And you should know that on this committee, there is strong support for the kind of certainty you're talking about, and you have really laid the case out very well. Mr. Wessel, I want to turn to you on this whole question of the labor issue and enforcement. And I'm not sure everybody knows, but you and I have been talking about these issues for years and years, and I so appreciate your good work. It seems to me the administration has made progress on improving the labor obligations in the new agreement, but that isn't worth much unless you have tough, real enforcement. And Senator Brown and I have been working on a new framework in this area, so there'd be sufficient resources, technical assistance to cooperate with Mexico on their new labor law, and also to provide a backstop to protect American workers from being disadvantaged by unscrupulous factories in Mexico. What would it mean, Mr. Wessel, as somebody who's studied this for years, what would it mean for U.S. workers if we were able to finally get full compliance by Mexico of their labor obligations?
It really is the single most critical issue in the question of the balance between our two countries, the outsourcing of jobs, the relocation of a lot of our supply chains to Mexico because of the artificially low wages in that country, primarily stimulated by low current labor standards and no enforcement. As you know, there are roughly 700,000 protection contracts currently in place in Mexico, the vast majority of which workers have no idea whether they exist or what their terms are. So making sure that workers are paid a decent wage in return for their hard work, their creativity, the skills is the fundamental component of what we are looking for long term. Without strong enforcement, we're going to continue to have the same process and results we have today.
Let me follow that up and, in effect, try to take this enforceability issue beyond what Senator Brown and I have been working away on for months now, and we've been working with the Speaker and House members and the like. I gather you have some additional ideas for enforcing trade law and particularly NAFTA 2.0. You have some additional recommendations that you'd like to make?
Well, first let me say that enforcement, which is vital, often means that there's been injury and someone has been hurt in the labor context. So our goal is to have the infrastructure in place to make sure that workers know what their rights are able to freely associate and enjoy the rights that they have. And that's a fundamental component of what you and Senator Brown have talked about in terms of the infrastructure. Clearly, we need to make sure that the state-to-state dispute resolution is binding. We need to make sure that at the front end of this process that we don't see what we saw in the Colombia situation, where we had an agreement that called for certain actions, but those actions were not in fact adopted prior to certification. So a better certification process than we've had in the past. We also need the infrastructure to provide greater access to the enforcement process. All of the labor rights cases have been brought by organized labor. It is a very difficult process to enter and time-consuming. We need to shorten that process. We need to make sure that it is timely and certain.
Great. Thank you very much. And I want to thank all of our witnesses. We look forward very much to working with all of you.